Hey everybody, welcome to Highly Unlikely with Josh and Jenaye. And half of Bismarck is here today, so it's going to be a great podcast. We're doing, ironically, a podcast on community, and we brought the whole community.
And it's probably the most people we've ever had on a podcast.
Yeah.
I don't know if we've had 6. That's a lot.
It's
maybe the
awesome.
counselor podcast. Maybe.
Yep. So I think what we should do is let's ask the question, and then as you answer the question from the block,
Yes.
from the square, introduce yourself.
Yes.
And
So yeah, intro, maybe like quick, maybe work, family, how long you've been a part of Evangel, and then answer the question. Does that sound good?
Yep.
Okay. And for the sake of time, Josh and I may not answer the question unless you need a buffer
Unless it's
of
a
time.
great one.
Well, I mean, I think it's a good one. Are you more concerned about your health, your career, or your relationships?
Oh. This is like the corniest community question ever.
It was the next one in the block. Do you want me to pick a different one?
Nope. Go ahead. Let's. Maybe it'll be a good kickoff. It'll be a good. Okay, do the next one. We're throwing out a question.
I'm sorry. Well, you don't like. Do you don't like it? We don't have to do it.
We're gonna answer that question: why relationships are so important in just a few.
Maybe some people would say
Yes.
I'm more concerned about my career right now. I don't know. Okay. I'm really interested to hear this, especially from you, Matt. Have you created any art in the past 5 years?
Art. Whoever wants to go, just make sure you introduce yourself.
What did I've created beautiful art pieces with the kids.
Yeah,
you
I
know,
know,
Paw
I
Patrol
know.
coloring pages. No.
Art.
I mean,
Sierra?
what do you like? Question better.
Yeah, I think mine has to do with kids too.
Yeah.
Daily, I do bluey coloring books.
Right.
And then the whole like paint their toes, hold them down, make something for a specific holiday for the grandparents. That's probably the only art that I've ever created in recent years.
Were you on maternity leave still when we did the paint your coworker
I
challenge?
was, and I saw that. And it was
Such
probably good that I
FOMO.
wasn't here. That's not one of my strong suits, but I've been wanting to do that with Keenan at home as like
It
a
was
date
a
night.
masterpiece. We
Yeah.
created masterpieces. Yeah. Okay, introduce yourself. Okay.
I'm Sierra. I serve as the Connect Group coordinator here on staff. I've been on staff for 3 years, have been attending Evangel for 7 years. I am married to Keenan, and he's a full-time rancher. And we have 2 boys. One is 4 months, so I just got back from maternity leave, and the other is just about 2. So we live a 2 under 2 crazy household right now. Yeah.
awesome.
So busy.
Sierra's a rock star.
Yeah, we're glad
Works
you're
hard.
back.
Farm kid. That farm kid work ethic coming through.
Black cows.
Yes. Simmental. Anyway, sorry. Now we're niche. Robyn, Matt.
I haven't created any art per se of creating, but I feel like coordinating schedules is my art.
Oh, that's
So
an
true.
art.
Moving masterpieces between my family and my role here as helping Josh and Jenaye, executive assistant for them for about a year and a half now. So
Fun
that's
fact, Robyn writes all the descriptions for the podcast.
Yes.
Like this podcast is running right now because Robyn's hand is in it. 1,000%. That's not a joke. It's serious.
So now this podcast, I can actually laugh at a joke. Usually
Yes.
there, I'm like, hold it in, don't laugh,
Sits and
don't
tries
say
to be
amen
quiet.
or yes.
Yep.
No, I can join in. So my Evangel story, I actually was invited as a teenager and found a personal relationship with Jesus, changed my whole life, changed my parents' life, my sister, and then I met my future husband, my high school sweetheart. We got married. Then we moved away, built a family, had 3 boys, came back to North Dakota, and we've been back at Evangel now for 7 years. And my boys, very different stage than with your boys. I have a senior in high school and 2 young adults. So I'm at
Crazy.
the opposite end of the spectrum here.
There's some serious art
parenting.
in your family,
That's
right?
so true.
There's some artistic, creative
Yes, there
ability there.
is.
Yeah.
Now to the guy
Brandon, I'll bring
side.
up the end.
No, the guy said.
All right, sounds good. Well, I've created some art recently, probably. My youngest daughter, Lily, she's a little artist. So she's always creating, and I've always kind of been that way too. And so like every year come Valentine's, she's always like, Dad, what are we going to create? And she's a tomboy through and through. So last year she's like, let's create a Death Star Star Wars. So we created like a giant Death Star, with all these like Star Wars characters on it and things like that. And she was like so proud to bring it to school and stuff. And then this year they like announced we're making bags at school this year. So you do not need to bring your own, kind of like saying like, don't bring your own to school. Don't do that again. And Lily is pretty devastated about that. But yeah, so she's a little artist, so I do stuff with her.
That's awesome.
My name's Brandon Wagner. I'm a financial planner. I have a wonderful wife named Holly. We've been married 8 years, and then we have 3 kids. Lily is 7, Sophia is 3, and then we have little Noah, who is turning 1 next week.
Crazy.
Yeah. We've been at Evangel 6 years. Holly actually grew up at Evangel, and I grew up at a Lutheran church. And then once we got married, we came here, found our home, and we've been here ever since. So It's been great.
It's awesome.
Like an onion, the layers. An artist? I didn't know this.
Death Stars.
Learn something new.
Star Wars, all those fun things.
Yeah.
Spruce box. Sarah will appreciate this. My wife made a spruce box last year from the evergreens on our property. And she reluctantly let me keep it out in front of our house throughout the holiday season. So that's, as soon as you said it and you looked at me, Jenaye, I was like, I know what I'm going to say.
I love it.
My name is Matt Hirst, and I have been married to my wife, Sarah, that I just mentioned, for 15 years. We have 2 little girls. Eviana's 9, and Farah is almost 4. And I'm an entrepreneur at this point in my life. I had a long career in the specialty chemicals world, corporate America, and then took more of an entrepreneurial route when we moved back to Bismarck. And let's see, I was talking about this with Sarah last night. It's one of those things that goes so fast. But it was 2023, summer of 2023, that we started attending Evangel. Sarah had grown up here, and I had actually went to Evangel once in college with her family, with one of her brothers, when it was still the old auditorium, and I think it was still called Evangel Temple at the time as well. But yeah, so a lot of connections there, but I would say going to church here fully for the last, going on to almost 3 years now.
It's great.
That's wild.
Yeah. Well, today we're talking all about community.
Biblical community.
Biblical community. There's a difference.
There is, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of community in a lot of places. And I'm just excited to hear you guys' perspective and how the Lord has used that in and through your lives. And even whether it was here at Evangel or somewhere else. Did you want to add something?
Yeah, I was just thinking about a couple of ways this has resonated, or maybe for people listening. Several years ago, I did a life plan with a guy who helped. I don't know what they're called, life planners or something, but
probably some fancy title.
Yeah,
life coach.
We mapped out kind of the trajectory of my life up to that point, and he had me map out the highs and the lows of my life. And I had there was 3 big crashes in my life up to that point. And when we studied it out, he said, every low in your life has come when you stepped out of biblical community, either because you moved, or when I lived in San Diego and I came home, or a friend's group kind of changed. He said, biblical community is incredibly important, and every low point in your life has been immediately preceded by stepping out of biblical community. I think it's also evidenced in many of our kids. This is one of the reasons I love that Robyn's on here, because she's raised these boys that are just incredible young men. And I'm actually meeting with one of them because he's going to be moving, and I want to talk to him about community, and how we just see so many high schoolers that are raised in church or Christian families, and they move off to college and they don't establish godly community. They just find whoever their roommates are, or if it's a partying community, or if they play a sport and they get sucked into a different kind of community. And when they aren't intentional about their community, you see these drifts in their life. And so the theme is that we were not only made for relationship with God. God said it's not good for people to be alone. And so we were made for relationship with one another, not just in, I know a lot of people in church, but like in biblical community. And that's why I've been in community with Matt and Brandon, over the last couple of years. It shocks me that you guys have been at Evangel for such a short period of time, because I feel like I know you so well.
Yeah.
But it's because we committed together to a year of community, and the closeness that we all feel, because of that is really, really, really cool. And I think a lot of men especially are missing that. And so we're really talking about biblical community centered around worshiping Jesus, about honoring Jesus, about being men who win in every arena of life, as we say around here. And that's where we want to kind of generate the discussion from today.
Right. And we line this podcast up with groups are launching for the winter, spring semester. And so we're trying to coordinate these podcasts with the life of the church and really what would resonate with people who say Evangel is my home. And so at Evangel, we try help facilitate community through groups. And we're going to get into all of that. And yes, there can be community outside of a Connect group, but the way that we try to facilitate that is through Connect groups here at Evangel. So I would love to hear, or did you have something else?
No, I'll start the first question because I want to swing over to Matt right away, because I know Matt's been involved in the community at Evangel for a couple of years, but also we joke about it, but Matt bounced around a little bit in college. I went to the same college, had the same community mostly for almost like 4 years. Plus you lived in a different city and now you're in this one. And so what has your life looked like in biblical community and in the moments you were outside of biblical community?
Kind of speaking to the college question first, so I was recruited to play basketball, went to South Dakota Tech, and didn't go well. I wasn't, maturity was probably part of that, some injuries. Definitely did not have community in the aspect that I would look back now and say, I wish I would have. Was fortunate enough to come back, go to Bismarck State, play basketball there for a few years, had more community, but was it biblical community? Probably not when I look back. Fast forward into Sarah and I's married life, when we started that, same thing. I mean, we were attending churches, but we weren't seeking community. We weren't, and I'll give Evangel a lot of credit, not just because I'm on our podcast, but I think the ease of which we've found ourselves in community, it's not even been us seeking, it's been us just making ourselves available or showing up consistently. And that's really been something that we've stepped into. So I would say generally, going back to your question, Josh, generally for most of my life, I've had biblical community around, but I've not exactly walked in that. And in the last couple of years, walking in that. And when we moved home in 2021 from Denver, had a great time in Denver for 10 years, but we knew it was time to come home, and the Lord really led us here. That whole season, I kept listening. Every podcast I'd listened to was on Ruth, and I was just like, okay, I think I know I'm supposed to be moving home. And, when that happened, it just, it kind of fell into to different things. And obviously, like you said, the last year, and when I've made the choice to walk in that community, said yes to God putting that in front of me, He's cleared my schedule. I had a work schedule where I was always on planes and I was always traveling and didn't have time. I said yes a couple of years ago to being intentional about that. And magically, I didn't travel. And it's not like my work dried up. I mean, work was still great, and it's been better than ever.
Yeah.
I think that's beautiful, because to me that reinforces God's heart. That's like, you need community and it's best for you. Like, He'll make a way. Even if you're like, I don't know how this worked out, He makes a way. I think that's beautiful.
Well, we felt that way about adoption. When you care about things God cares about, He makes a way.
Yep, He does.
He opens doors.
That's true.
So, Robyn, what about community for you? I know even just this week you had high school girls in your home. Like, why take the time? Why? Put that effort in. I know that with high schoolers or with kids, like, you're planting seeds that grow up later. You're rarely seeing like the immediate fruit. But why have you chose to pattern your life around that?
Yeah, actually, that first question from the box was talking about which one you would choose. So if I had to answer, it would be relationships, because I have seen that even over time, the seeds that you plant, the time that you spend, what you invest, even in the hard seasons and in the harvest kind of seasons, but it just takes a long time of planting, whether it's with your own kids. And so many times we want like these immediate results. And like, I now have some of these parents that are in stages earlier than us. They're like, so tell me what you did. And like, they want like the one thing, because if I do that one thing, and it's a lot of conversations over time. It's a lot of 1-minute conversations and continually repeating these themes and values. And so it was of high value to me. Like, originally what you were asking is why it was important to pour into this time, is because of what it did for me. Because it literally changed my life. When I found Jesus as a teenager here, I changed my friends. I changed what I listened to, what I did, how I spent my time, how I spent my money. And a part of it was adult leaders that were then pouring into me and showing, how does it look like to live like Jesus as a teenager?
Maybe a little bit of context for those listening. How many years have you been a youth leader, particularly maybe a Connect group leader for high school girls?
Yeah,
right?
so I'm in my 6th school year.
Sixth
So yeah,
school year.
6 years.
So you have seen, I mean, girls all the way through.
Yeah, like all
till they
through their high school
graduate.
years. So a lot of them, I actually recently added up like how many students have like went through my Connect groups, and it was like over 50.
Wow.
And so those things again accumulate over time. Those aren't things like even just one season you can do. Just seeing the value of being consistent, because that's one of the main things that teenagers I see are wanting is just consistency. And so if you just show up every week, like in our context here, that's at Wednesday nights and Connect groups for a youth service, just showing up there consistently is a lot of even just what they need. Not knowing all the answers, but just showing up.
Yeah.
And I think that is what intimidates people, particularly with the next generation, is like, you are asking questions that I never even thought about, and I'm 36, right? So it intimidates me of like, I've never thought of the questions that you're asking. And so I couldn't be a group leader for middle school or high school. And I think that you've just encouraged me in that of like, I don't have all the answers, but I'm going to love them and I'm going to listen, and I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And they're not going to scare me away. We have a fun story about someone who's now an MLC student and just like a pillar of a leader in the young adult, currently at Evangel, and just a funny story of her first time, you know, at Robyn's group, and was just so resistant and even maybe turning her back while you're trying to talk or teach. And it's just like, you never know what seeds will bear fruit later. And so just been so encouraged by that. But I wanted to give some context too.
Yep.
I just keep saying, Robyn's a legend in the youth. She really is.
Yeah. Brandon, you, one of the things that I often hear about you is, if you knew Brandon in high school, he was a totally different guy than he is today. But
Isn't that true for all of us?
I think it's true
hope
for all
so.
of us, but I think there's been like a marked change. I mean, just biblical community. Matt went to Dickinson Trinity, Brandon went to Shiloh, and I went to Glen Ellen. We shouldn't even be friends. You know, this is the power.
Yeah, that's true.
True.
This is the
North
power of the
Dakotans understand
gospel.
that.
Right. Only Class B North Dakotans
Yeah, that's
understand
true. That's true.
how they recruited and we couldn't. But we,
There it is.
I'm not bitter. But Brandon, talk about like the role. I know your life has just experienced a ton of transformation. That's what I'm really trying to say. But talk about the role of people around you. Because I know you met Jesus, or even you were raised kind of knowing about Jesus, but the role of people around you.
Yeah, I would say that I've had community around me that I think I took a lot of pride in the fact that I had friendships for like a very long time. And I think sometimes like we value that more than like what we're getting out of those and like how they're building us like in our faith and other things like that. And so like, I feel like I had a lot of these relationships where like all of us were living very selfishly, you know, and it's just like, we all reinforce that in each other. And so it's just like, oh, you have complaints about your spouse, or you have this, or you have that. And instead of being like, hey, like, how have you served your spouse? Or, you know, these different things where you're trying to help each other grow. You know, I think I don't care how long you've had these friendships, like sometimes like there's no fruit. And I think I realized like more than like having like this badge of honor that I have this like long-term friendship, like I think like how powerful it is to have friendships of biblical community, of people that push you and encourage you. And like, I remember like one of my friends one time was like, man, I prayed for your wife and kids last night about this or that. And I'm like, oh, wow. Like these people are for me. And it just showed me like just how powerful that was.
Yeah.
And so for me personally, I would say probably mostly in the last like 5-6 years, I've really leaned into like biblical community. And I think there's like mutuality in that, and that we both benefit and we're for each other. And I think through that we can all grow, and we also help each other identify our spiritual gifts, you know? And so I think for myself personally, it's just helped me grow tremendously. And that's a lot because of the people around me, and people like you, people like Matt, and some of the other guys we've been in community with. It's just been great.
Yeah. It is. It's not, I mean, especially from a guy's perspective, I think men often think I'm going to go to this group and I'm going to have to talk about my sin and how terrible I am.
Kumbaya, yeah.
Or like share heart stuff, you know, and they're going to make me pray out loud. Like these are all the things that you kind of hear back, and it's just so, there's so much more purpose to it than that, you know, and it's so much deeper than that. Sierra, I wonder if you can lay out, like, why do we even, I mean, Evangel has a lot going on. There's a lot of different things happening. Lots of people are showing up. So why even commit to groups? Like, why does it even matter for people to experience biblical community, either out of your own story or just out of the position that you're in? Like, why do we care about that?
Yeah, I think my heart, even for groups, came out of my personal story. When I first came to Evangel, I was someone that just walked in on Sunday and walked back out.
Yep.
And me and my now husband, we would come and go. And then being stirred to join a group and going the first night. And I had recruited a friend to come along with me because I knew nobody that was going to be there and I was intimidated. And we drove around the block.
Oh, yeah.
And we kept looking at each other. Are we going to do this? Are we going to go in? And it got to, I said, yes, I'm going to go in. And she said, I don't think I'm going in with you. I'll pick you up after. And I've never heard this story. My jaw dropped. I was like, okay. So I go knock on the door of this house of nobody that I knew. And she's still circling the block. And I yelled at her to the street. I was like, please come. Don't leave me. Don't make me do this alone. She circled the blocks probably 3 more times and parked and came in. And her and I had a lot of similarities in our life and the way that we grew up, both being ranch kids and had a lot of that same community at that time. We walked in the group and it was the first night of like, everybody get to know each other, share a little bit about your story. And if I'm completely honest, I walked out and I was like, I don't know if like those people were really going to jive with. I was completely wrong because a lady that I had met that first night that I thought, I don't know if we have anything in common or we'll do life together, is now one of my dearest friends, and she lives multiple states away, but is someone that I can call on, and I know that is always praying for our family, always there. And so seeing how biblical community has changed my life has given me a heart to encourage people in that, because I know that a church like Evangel can feel really big if you just come in on Sunday and walk out. But it's really when you sit with people and do life with them that things begin to shift, that relationships are different. Like Brandon had said, it's not always about the length of a relationship. And I learned that so fast when I got into connect groups, that it was like, I've known these people for a month and I feel more comfortable and I feel like these people are for me and pushing me more than people that I've been friends with for 10 years. And that began to shape me in such a beautiful way and also grow my relationship with the Lord.
Right.
And so I know I say it, yes, I'm the connect group coordinator, but truly the stories and also my personal story of seeing how people's lives have been transformed by having people walk with them throughout life is why we do it. And it's been so beautiful to see. And even seeing groups say, hey, yeah, we started as a group that met on Monday mornings at 10 a.m. and then we would all leave at, an hour later, to these are my people. These are the people I do life with. If I want to go to the grocery store, I'm going to call, this person that I met in group and we run grocery errands together now. Just people to do simple life things with, to really be your support.
I was thinking about I think somebody sent you a note and said, hey, thank you a year ago for challenging us to go all in. It changed that person.
Give God a year.
Yeah, just give
him a year.
And I think that would be my challenge with community. Like, even if you don't feel like you land in the perfect group or under the perfect leader or the timing is perfect, like, give God a chance. Like, give God a year in community and see what comes out of it. I mean, truly, for me, when I stepped into a different kind of, like, I tried something different a couple of years ago and just brought 12 guys together and said, let's get together for 9 months. Let's just build community together. And now I walk through like the lobby on Sunday and they're talking to each other, or they're walking with each other, or they're working out together, or they're, like, and you just experience church in a different way. You experience feeling known in a different way. You experience the joy of, Paul said, the churches are awesome. All this church planning has been great. but he looked at the people and he said, but you're my joy and my crown.
That's right.
Your life that's been changed. That's where the true joy, you know, and I think Robyn, you would, you know, it's like when you see that youth student come up and like make it or grab a hold of their calling,
then it's worth it.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the joy of it.
Right. I just think I think it's so interesting to hear. I mean, if you're watching on YouTube, it's like the room's divided. We got the girl side and the guy side. And I do think it's such a different perspective when it comes to community. Because like you were saying, Brandon, like guys who push me, I'm like, that's culturally acceptable, but it's in different ways. I'm going to push you for your like career and success and what strength looks like according to society. And yeah, I think even we're saying biblical community, and that really means the people who surround you are going to push you in the conduct and the character of Jesus, and they're going to encourage you in that way or challenge you in that way. I just think that's my best friend. I know she's going to hear me out, and I'm going to, you know, say all the things to her, and then she's going to point me back to Scripture. She's going to point me to Jesus. And if you've never experienced that before, it can sound so intimidating. It can sound so even weird, or like this is boring, or this is like kind of like a fun sucking life model. You know, God is just not fun, but it is really fun. And it is, I would say, there's just so much more joy and there's so much more fulfillment. And I think from what I've heard from a lot of you, even for those who have not entered biblical community, there's probably a level in friendship of being known that you've never experienced, like truly known for your mess, for your hurt, for, you know, your hope for the future. And so, what would you say to someone who's maybe written off something like Connect groups or something like whatever, maybe at your church it's a Bible study? Like how would you encourage them if they're like, I've written it off, man, or that group experience sucked, which can happen.
Yeah.
Try again, but
hey, well,
what
you guys
would you
think about your answer.
Say to them.
One just clarification I want to continue to give on like biblical community. I think the picture is it's the same as biblical parenting, biblical marriage, biblical parenting. It's having groups of people together where Jesus is at the center of it.
Yeah.
Where even if it's mine and Brandon's friendship, it's not just ours or mine and Matt's, it's Christ in the middle. And how do we include Jesus, you know, in the friendship that we have, or how do we include Jesus in this group of friends and I think for some people where it's like, yeah, they've had the same friends since high school and they have a closeness, but there's not like a Christ-centeredness. And that's what brings like, hey, we're going to grow, we're going to become like Jesus. And so just
What's
that
the common
clarification.
denominator? It's our beliefs. It's what anchors us. It's,
That's really the context that we're talking in.
Totally.
So, okay, now you guys answer the question.
Yeah.
Jump in. Do you need to say it again? I interrupted the thought.
I think they're all just very kind North Dakotans that are.
Well, I could use you saying it again, Jenaye. Just repeating the question.
What would you say to someone that's like, meh, no.
Giving up on groups.
I'm not doing
it's
that.
not for them. People say that. It's not for me.
But no thanks. Yeah. Like just me and Jesus. That's how cults start, by the way. Is one person alone with the Bible. That's how most have started. It really is. Sorry. And then they believe they're a prophet.
Misinterpreting it. That's what she's saying.
Yeah, they think they're the prophet,
Misinterpreting
and then they say they're God. So what would be your word of encouragement? Just from your life before community or whatever that would be. What would be your word of encouragement to them?
I think Sierra said, you know, something before where when she first went to your group, you're like, oh, these people, like even the first time you left, you're kind of like, I don't know. And I think a lot of people go into it with that and maybe like they even have a bad experience. And I remember one of my biggest holdbacks was because I had all these great friendships, but they weren't centered around Jesus and they weren't pushing me to grow. And I felt like every season I tried to grow closer to Jesus. Like it's almost like when you're trying to climb and someone's like grabbing your ankle. And that's what I kind of always felt. It's like I'm reaching down and it's like, man, I'm always trying, but I didn't have people pulling me along. And so I was like, when I try to grow and I get in these like biblical community, it's going to be so boring. My life's going to be like really boring and not fun. And these people aren't going to be fun to be around and they're not going to have any interest that I have. We're just going to sit around and like read the Bible together all day. And it was just so wrong, you know? And so that's what I would tell people is like, I was so wrong. Like I found people that just knew me on like such a deep level. After I let my guard down and realized I could trust these people, and then these people actually had my best interest at heart and wanted the same things that I wanted, I found so much joy in that. and like we help each other and like we go through these different seasons together. And like, you know, it's so fulfilling to know that people like not only have your best interest at heart, but have your whole family's best interest at heart. And they're not trying to like just always vent about their life. And it's like a vent session back and forth about like, let's rip on each like other's friends or each other's spouses or, you know, this like just negative culture that a lot of people get sucked into. And so for me personally, I would just say like, you get into a good community and find your people. There's nothing more fulfilling. There's no better joy. And you feel so fulfilled.
Yeah. I walked by Matt's family this morning doing school drop off, and I didn't even realize
I see you guys all the time at school drop off. Both of you.
And I waved to Sarah, but then I was like trying to get your girl's attention, you know, and Farrah and I were locked in, you know, but
That girl.
and then I walked away and I thought, why did I care? Like whether I said hi to them or like, and I was like, oh, it's because I love Matt. It's like, and I want his daughters, I want to be a part of their life and their journey. And I'm their pastor, and I'm like, I want them to feel connected to their pastor, not like he's just a guy up on a stage. And I think that's what you're describing. It's not just, it's like, no, if I can help his kids, I'm helping him, you know, and maybe someday I'm going to be able to say things if I'm in a situation, you know, with some youth students or something where a parent is trying to drill that down and they're praying for a godly youth leader, you know, or a parent is praying, man, would there just be somebody, we pray that for our kids, like, and I hope there's staff or people. I tell our staff directly, like, if you want to love me and appreciate me, celebrate my wife's birthday, you know, or get down on my kids' level when they're in the building. And so I was just thinking about that. You said something about like caring about each other's families and stuff. And I was like, I literally just felt that this morning when I walked by Matt's family. You know?
Well, we needed that because Farrah had the wrong pair of pants on this morning. Tough morning at the Hirst house. So
Berkeley got home yesterday and I realized her whole outfit was all on backwards.
Shirt and pants were backwards.
All of it.
The whole day. But I think there's that too. That's community too, is you support one another in the hard things or the things where it's like the Bible doesn't lay out real plainly. Yes, there's character and integrity and all these things. But it's like, what do you do when you're in Target and that child is flailing on the ground? And then there's 7 people from the church that recognize you. And you're like, hello. You know, I mean, like those are the friends like that can encourage you and tell you that you don't suck.
Robyn, what was the role of church community in helping raise your boys? You know, and reinforcing godly character in them.
It was a huge part of it. And one of the things that we were kind of talking about before coming on was just the things that we have to overcome to be in community. And it's so interesting that the things that may keep teenagers from being in community are the same things as adults. Like I remember wrote them down, like schedules, sports, jobs, extracurricular activities. I don't know anyone. I'm an introvert. I'm scared to try something new. I don't get along with a certain person or group, or I have a hurt or offense from a person. And those are the things that sometimes I hear from, you know, parents when they're like, I don't know if my son or daughter, this is going to work for them to be in community here. And I just think those are opportunities really actually for us as parents to teach those life skills, because it's the same things that as adults. Like I've went to new groups of community, not knowing anyone, and I'm like, okay, I'm 40, I can do this. When I first came here, again, after 7 years and didn't know people, like it was a hard thing to go into a new place. And so doing that with just modeling too, I think just a huge challenge for any parents, whether it's teenagers or younger kids, is leading the way by being in community yourself. Because you're not, you can't ask them to do something that you're not doing. And even if you think, oh, they actually don't care, and they do, they're watching, they're listening. And so if you model it and are like, hey, you know, mom's going to connect group tonight, or mom and dad are in this marriage connect group, they hear those things. And then even just times when it's hard, like we had transitions of moves where they had to go to a new room, a new place, and start over. And there's a person sitting over there working on sound right now. That's one of those key people. The first night that 2 of my kids were in the room here at youth, that just like sought them out and was like pouring life into them in a time when they were like, oh man, we have to start over. And that's just like what you pray for. You pray for just a tribe of people, because like we aren't enough as parents. You may be the center of their world for a while, but eventually they have more people, and you want to invite the right people in. And so we've, over the years, had to work through all of these things, because life in community is messy. So you have to walk your kids through what happens when someone hurts you, or when maybe there's someone they don't get along with as well as the others, or maybe this isn't for me right now, or, you know, like you just walk them through that and not just go, okay, we're just going to pull back. And that's really not helping prepare them to adult and be in healthy community.
Yeah, like that.
I think we're talking a lot too to people that were saying, try community, it'll be worth it, like persevere, commit. But I also want to talk to people who are leading, you know, or like I know, Sarah, you got a bunch of groups coming up and people leading. And, you know, one of the things I learned, Brandon, I think you really taught me this, because when I sat down with you and I said, hey, I want to do this group, do you want to be in it? I think you were the first guy I talked to, and you're like, yes. And I was like, really? You know, and I was like, it's kind of a commitment.
When it was a pretty big commitment, it's different than a
commitment.
12-week group. It was like 9 months is a long time.
Yeah.
I think
grow a
at
whole
first you
human.
said it was a whole year, and you start tagging on, and I'm like, yeah. And then I'm like, I'm going to ask Holly.
Probably ask
But
my wife.
I think I'm in.
But it was like over and over and over and over again. Every guy was like, yeah, I've been waiting for this. Yeah, I've been looking for this. Yeah, I've been.
Well, that's one of the questions you wrote. I would love to hear, like hearing from you, Matt, you said a couple of times like the word like sought out, like we sought out community. So I would love to hear, what was a key part in you guys finding community? Was it that you sought it out? Was it that someone invited you? Or was it, something else other than that?
I think for us, it was, I guess to speak to the seeking out, you know, there's just, we had some relationships. I mean, I'll highlight Pastor Bryce as well. I mean, him and I just connected when we first started coming here. Didn't know him before that. He just somebody that I ran into in the lobby a couple times. And then as that relationship grew, he invited us into a Transform group, which, you know, for most people that have a Bible, but, you know, I'll admit I hadn't dug into it a lot. So that was something to me that was really intriguing to get into that group, which once again, a commitment, a longer commitment. You know, it's not just a certain, you know, a few months. It was, you know, a couple of years of commitment, but a beautiful process. And then that just led into other opportunities. And then it's easier to seek them out even as you go further. And then you start to think of friends where you're like, well, they've mentioned that before, that they would like some of that, or they have an interest in learning deeper about this topic, and this group would address that or help identify that. So those have been some of the things that have really presented themselves to us. And I think to your previous question, Jenaye, too, not to take it back to that, but I've thought a little bit about it since then. And, you know, I think just taking that moment to pause and pray and let discernment enter the conversation between you and your spouse, or even, you know, if it's just for you personally, sitting down and saying, this group's invited me, or I see this group and something's speaking to me. I mean, if you're in church thinking about that stuff and something catches your attention, it's not coincidence.
Yeah.
There are no such thing as coincidences. And so pay attention to that, take some time to pray about it. And if you've had a bad experience, you know, once again, I think I would just take that in some quiet time and some prayer and saying, like, what does this next opportunity look like?
Yeah. Yeah, I just want to embolden leaders. Like Bryce invited you guys in. Like, don't just wait for your group or your table to fill up. Like, go shoulder tap people. Like, ask the Holy Spirit to give you discernment when you're walking through the lobby, when you're meeting people. I was talking to somebody yesterday who just moved back from another town, and a lady interrupted our conversation and goes, hey, I think we're going on a reach trip together. We were on the Zoom, but we've never actually met. So I just wanted to meet you. And I was like, that's so intentional. Like she walked over and interrupted our conversation. I'm grateful for it, so shoulder tap people, like invite them in. I think CR2, we're talking, like Matt dropped Transform in there, you know, and I know there's a lot of different opportunities and people get confused at the language. And so help me out. We're doing Life on Purpose groups kicking off right now. I kind of look at Alpha as like a 101. If you don't know where to start, go to Alpha, Freedom, Transform. Do you want to just say anything about some of those?
Yeah. So if you look at the website, a lot of times people can be intimidated because there are a lot of options with a lot of language that might not be familiar to people. And so, we are doing Life on Purpose groups, and that will be a majority, a lot of the groups that will happen.
Which, just for context, that's the name of the study and we're doing it as like it's not
Yes.
like transform. It doesn't keep happening. So just for
Yes,
clarity.
and that will correspond with the messages for 7 weeks as soon as groups launch. And then there's always Alpha every spring and every fall. And that's your one-on-one. And you get to ask a lot of questions too in that group where it's, hey, who is Jesus? Why did he die for us? And it can go a lot deeper than that.
Yeah.
And it will. But it's a free space to just ask a lot of questions and have those answered for you. And then there's Freedom that also happens every spring and every fall. And that's another group where there's leaders that sit with you and maybe you're searching or walking through something and needing to find freedom from that. It is a deeper curriculum.
Yeah.
You'll go deep with your group fast, but that's one thing that I love about it is that people are going to know you, they're going to hear you and be there for you in a deep way in that. There's also support groups that I think are very vital, especially when people are walking through different things between divorce care and grief share. There's a financial peace group. And so if that's something that you're walking through right now, I would so encourage you to get in one of those groups as well. And these leaders, they don't just sign up willingly or without intention. You know, they sign up because they want to be someone that is there for you guys. They want to be someone that can pour into you and also bring you into that community.
Right.
And I kind of want to go back to what you said about leaders, even inviting people into their groups. I know you say it a lot in church too. How many people would come to church if they were invited? And I think that speaks to groups as well, because it might be a really big, bold step for someone to do that on their own. But if it feels more comfortable of, I've been invited by this person into their home, it feels easier.
Yeah.
And it feels like, okay, they somewhat already know me. They've sought me out and they want me a part of their community.
Yeah. I mean, Matt, you started a group at 6 a.m. on the weekend. And you you didn't even invite guys who were necessarily a part of the church. You just said, who's around me that
It
could
was
benefit?
4 guys that I could not get out of my head during our group, our initial development group, that I just couldn't get them. And I kept writing them down on my planner. And obedience was my word last year. And I was like, I don't think I'm being obedient by not inviting these guys.
Yeah.
So we started planning a time, and it was just, you start looking at schedules, young, parents with kids that are in sports, and you got work, and it's just all the things. And it was really cool. It came together Saturday mornings, and the consistency is just ratcheted up every week. We're at week 9, and it's been great. Every week it seems, and we've had the last couple of weeks, guys really share and just say, how much the group is starting to mean to them. And we can remember that from last year, when you start to hit your stride with it.
Yeah.
And the walls start to come down a little bit. And it's not that we're diving into the weeds on things. It's only what people are comfortable with. But I think just building that community and having a framework of the book that we're going through has been really useful as well.
Yeah.
Right.
And Jenaye and I did Alpha. We've done Financial Peace. Like those groups really helped us. Yeah. In different seasons of our lives too.
And at first you said you weren't a groups guy. You're like, I'm more one-on-one, and you've become a groups guy.
I know.
Way to go.
I
And we
keep
had
telling Robyn, I'm like, what can I clear off my calendar so I can do more
So
people
funny.
stuff?
We had a marriage group once, and I was like, I just really feel like we got to have a night where we give couples the option to have a room set up where they can go in and wash each other's feet. And he was like, absolutely not, Jenaye. Absolutely not. So you've come such a long way. We still have not done that, but we're just different. We're so different.
And I think too, for people that say, I am a one-on-one person, you'll get some of that too, being in group.
Yes.
I know a lot of groups that a leader will be like, hey, let's go do this or let's go out to coffee. So you'll also build those relationships where you'll have a larger, or however many people are in your group. And then you also have one-on-one opportunities to have those one-on-one conversations too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just having a conversation with a friend not long ago, and they have a profession where they have a lot of different clients, and they were telling me about a friend or a client that had told them a story where I would say as a leader, kind of like a worst nightmare story, telling me about something that happened in a group that this friend of theirs had attended. And we started talking about it. I was like, no, thank you for telling us. We can follow up, whatever. And
Groups are kind of the wild, wild west. That's what, it's just a part of it.
That's that's church. It's humans.
It is.
God
It is. It's
entrusted
people.
it to imperfect humans. Like, I think we keep saying that. That's probably an extremely small percentage of group experiences. But we like to also say we're aware that you can try group and be like, oh, I've tried different counselors and been like, we would not be friends in real life. This is just, we're not jiving. And that can happen.
They don't
But she's
speak
telling
your
me this
language.
story and we were kind of going back and forth. And I said, yeah, I think what really breaks my heart is there's some really spiritually mature people who will not lead a group. And she said, oh, like me? And I said, yeah, lead a freaking group. So I think there's just some of you that need to hear that, where it's like you're maybe a constipated Christian where you've just consumed, and God created you to not be a swamp or like a lake, but a river, and to let what He's deposited in you flow through you. And you have purpose in that. So I just think there's a lot of dormant leaders that God has such this beautiful purpose on your life, but you either there's a lie of the enemy, your insecurity, or you've convinced yourself you're too busy, or maybe you are and the Lord needs to help you, lead you in what to clear, or you think it's too intimidating, but you so are capable because Christ in you is enough.
I think Tyler Staton said, if your biblical knowledge is far outpacing your personal experience, then you might need to get your hands a little bit more messy. You might need to get in with people more, because I think you can sit and just study like you're talking about, or grow. And then people start majoring on minors, or they start just, but when you're in the trenches praying for people, you're in the trenches leading people, you're in the trenches meeting with people, it has a way of like leveling you out and just bringing health.
Yeah, I think to that point, I think that there's a lot of people out there, I'm one of them, that didn't feel like they're adequate to lead. And I think that's why me having biblical community, I think Josh and Matt both probably have speaking life into me and been like, dude, what are you talking about? You have these gifts that you've been given to lead and connect with people and different things. And so I think speaking to those people too, that, if you have that friend or you have that person that you think would be good to lead somebody, like encourage them. Because for me, that's what it took. Like I was like, there's no way I should lead. Like I'm not good enough to lead.
What caused you to say that? Like, what was it?
I think it's just a total, like you said, lie of the enemy.
Yeah.
For me, like I just kept thinking of all these like insecurities of like, I'm not good enough. Like, man, like there's no way that I should be in charge of like leading other men, And so like, it was just those lies, and like they're lies I've battled my whole life. And I think having people around me that speak truth has just been so great for me. And so I'm going to try not to get emotional here today, but just having like people around me, that speak truth into my life has emboldened me and given me the confidence to step out and lead. And I've gotten so much out of leading too this year. It's also put me in a lot of positions where like I see something and I have to be obedient and like maybe take that person one-on-one, under my wing, or do different things that I wouldn't have done even 12 months ago. And so I think like when you step out in confidence and then do take up a leadership role, I think it will open a lot of doors for you to like help yourself grow and then help others too. So
I think the best Connect group leaders are the ones, which I think is everyone sitting here, where you're like, I'm not the one that knows everything. I'm going to learn from those in my group. And you learn so much from those that God sends around you as well. Yeah.
And knowing as a leader, I think it can be intimidating. You think you have to have all the answers. None of us have all the answers.
No. Yeah.
And so being okay with that and not feeling like, oh, I have to have all the answers going into this group because I'm the leader of this group. Like you said, learn from each other.
We use Slack. It's like our chat system at here at Evangel. And we literally have a channel. You can have channels. And it's titled Tough Questions. And I think it's just the pastors that are in it. And you're like, I was asked this question. Does anyone know? So, I mean, it's all of us. Like,
Getting really good at saying, you know what? I don't know the answer to that, but I'll get back to you.
I'll get back to you.
And I just view that like our roles are to point people to Jesus and point them to truth. And sometimes not having them like attached to you, because sometimes with students, like in my role, it's like I don't want them to attach to me because I'm not the source. Like sometimes that might be like, hey, I'm taking their hand and then I'm extending it to the Father. Like, so sometimes you're that in-between person in community where you're helping take them to truth and pointing to Jesus. Like, it's not about us as leaders.
That's such a good point, because you do see in religious contexts where there's like fostering codependency, and it's like Jesus dependency. That is what we are trying to point people to. I love that so much.
I was going to say something that didn't really. Alex Seeley just preached a great message about King Uzziah and when he died, and then Isaiah saw the Lord, and how we can get so dependent on people in our lives that sometimes God has to move them out in order for us to reconnect back to like, oh yeah, it's not about that leader or that pastor or that person. It's about King Jesus, you know? So it's a great message.
Well, unfortunately, we're out of time.
Look at you landing the plane.
Well, I know people have schedules on another time. We could go for another half hour. But
It's true.
thank you for listening. I feel like we need a part 2. Maybe we'll invite you guys back. But thank you for taking the time and even just sharing your experiences. And we hope it is fruitful and helpful for those of you listening. And if you think this would help someone, share it with them and subscribe to the podcast and rate it. That always helps. And just thanks for tuning in.
I would also just say, we have 4 great people here who each got to say less than 5 things each. And if you see them in the lobby at church, or if you run into them, ask them, you know, or get their advice. Like, they just have a wealth of experience and big hearts, you know, even like Brandon said, like, it's not about being the perfect leader, but, you know, bringing your full self and your heart to the table, and then people want to follow that, you know. And so thank you guys for taking the time. I know it's hard to cram this many people into 45 minutes, but you did a great job. We're super grateful for you. So, and thanks for all of you that joined. We'll see you next time.